One, be our light, be our wisdom, be our guide, as we discern as a church how to walk humbly, walk with justice, and to remember that we are always walking in your care. Amen. All right. I don't have an agenda with me, but I know that my task is to gain nominations for the chairperson of our meeting. So who would like to nominate someone for that? Kent.
I would like to nominate Candace Allen. I think she'd do a great job.
All right. You second it. Are there any other nominations? All right. Not so fast, Candy. All those in favor of having Candace Allen as our chairperson? All those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous, Candy. You are our chairperson.
Okay, I need a nomination for secretary. Is anybody willing to do that nomination or appoint someone? Okay, Harold? Okay, any seconders? Nancy Scheibel? All in favor? Carried. Come on up. I think I'm good. Okay, let's get started. The next article is number 4, the omnibus motion, which is 6 motions that we put out to save time, so we don't have to go through each one separately. And then we'll have someone motion acceptance and a seconder when I finish reading them. Okay, first one is motion to extend young voting privileges to adherents. Motion to approve the agenda. The minister's comments and memoriam and courtesies were included in the worship service. Motion to waive the reading of the minutes of the annual meeting held on March 26, 2024. Motion to approve the minutes of the annual meeting. Oh, that's the one, sorry. Motion to approve the 2024 annual report, excluding financial statements. And motion to authorize the board to continue its work to fill vacancies. Can somebody make a motion to accept? Ron Sherman. And second? Bert Fonseca. Thank you.
You have to have a vote now.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. Now this is this is my little part here, and I do have notes. Deborah, I can't do this off the cuff, but anyway, but they were well thought out, and I had a little help with it as well. So this is the appreciation of board and team members and volunteers. It is my honor and privilege to share our heartfelt appreciation for all the board members and the core team and our trustees and our MP committee and nurturing care team, our property team, and the many others who take care of our staff, our building, our members, and our mission and vision. They are all volunteers in our church community. They share their time, their talent, and benefit in our community. As I mentioned in the annual report, as a member of the board, I have experienced this team as supportive, willing to meet on a moment's notice, agreeable to suggestions, but with questions to ask if they need to make things better. Plus, we like to laugh and tease and eat. There's been a monumental community changing this year. Without the guidance and support and patience of all the volunteers, we would not be where we are today. Thank you so much for your dedication, caring, and love for this community and all it represents. I'm going to recognize a few people from the board and ask and who will be stepping down from their positions. Allison Mitchell Neufeld as our spiritual leadership lead. Kent Palmer for his leadership as board chair and past chair and his support of me. And Judy Damone, who is leaving the board but will now be on the core team. I want to thank these members for their time and dedication for our church. Now I'd like to introduce this year's board members. If they would just stand in where they're sitting and remain standing for recognition and appreciation at the end of the list. Harold Devaney is our property lead. Jeff Cargus is leadership lead. Jackie Ellis is our new head of finance. Jennifer Gunter is our secretary. John Empringham is our incoming chair, vice chair. Deborah Laforette, our minister. Allison Mitchell-Neufeld is a member at large. Jeff Laforette is a Horseshoe Falls rep. And I will be chair for 1 more year. The leadership team lead is still vacant for the time being. Please show your appreciation and gratitude for these amazing volunteers. Can I have a motion for approval of the board members for 2025? Sean Turner. And a seconder? Tom Allen. All in favor? Carried. Okay, what's next? Turn your papers in. Okay, now we're carrying on to the ministry and personnel motions presented by Jeff Cargus.
All right. So I am the lead of our ministry and personnel team, and the first motion is a motion that comes up every year at this time, and the motion is as follows. So I, Jeff Cargus, move that the United Church of Canada's 2025 minimum mandatory increase for ministerial staff be extended to all of our lay staff here at St. Paul's as well. That would be retroactive to January 1st, 2025. So the minimum mandatory increase for ministerial staff this year is 3%. We have a history at St. Paul's of extending that increase to all of our lay staff as well. And so the motion is that we do that again this year. What's the protocol here? What do I have to say?
You need a seconder.
Oh, okay. Do we have a seconder? Bert, I would be honored to have you second this motion. Bert Fonseca. All in favor?
No.
Nope, discussion.
Conversation.
Oh, I caught it. Discussion. Okay, seeing none. All in favor? All opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. Wow, it feels really powerful to say motion carried. Okay. Okay, the second motion this year is a discussion regarding our ministerial salary, so salary for our ministerial staff. With Carolyn Smith's, exit, I guess, or she didn't retire, though. She didn't retire.
Her departure.
Her departure, thank you. With Carolyn Smith's departure, we had an opportunity to look at, it just seemed like a natural time to look at our ministerial salary, and so we kind of gathered some information around that. For those who don't know, every year the United Church of Canada puts out a minimum mandatory salary grid, and that grid is based on a couple of factors. One is every church across the Canada, I guess, since it's the United Church of Canada, falls into a cost of living group associated with where they are located. And then the mandatory minimum is also based on the number of years of service that the particular minister has in ministry. And so it's just a grid, and so that indicates, or that tells us what the mandatory minimum amount that we need to pay is for salary for our ministerial staff. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there is a mandatory minimum increase every year that we need to apply. That said, as a board, we collected some information from the surrounding congregations in the region and found quite a large disparity in terms of what different congregations were paying their ministerial staff. And we had a really comprehensive and robust discussion about it. and where we landed was on the following motion. So I move that the salary of the lead minister be increased to an amount that would equal the mandatory minimum amount plus 15% based on the salary grid that is provided by the United Church of Canada. So we are effectively saying that we would like to anchor the salary of our lead minister to that salary grid. So we start at the mandatory minimum amount, and we want to provide an additional 15% on top of that. Worth noting that the current salary, Deborah's current salary, is slightly above that mandatory minimum. So 6% now above the minimum. So we would be going back to that minimum and adding 15%. So her in effect, her salary is not going up 15%. I want to call that out very transparently. But on a go-forward basis, we are anchoring it to that salary grid. Okay? Perfect. So Jeff and Deborah will leave now so that we can have the discussion or the conversation. Deborah needed to be here for the motion because we need a minister present for any motions given during the AGM. And Jen, I rewrote the motion slightly to make it a little bit more clear, so I can provide that to you after for the minutes, but I'll reread it. Okay, so I move that the salary of the lead minister be increased to an amount equaling the mandatory minimum as laid out in the minimum comprehensive salaries grid by the United Church of Canada, plus 15% retroactive to January 1st of 2025. So it would be retroactive, just as was the increase that we afforded to our lay staff. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Rachel Kubin. Rachel? Okay, discussion. Open up for discussion. Sue, yeah? The simple math is yes. If she's already she was getting 6% over the minimum already, we are increasing it effectively by 9%. For simplicity's sake, we are anchoring the percentage to the mandatory minimum in the grid. It just makes things easy and transparent that way. Yeah. Other questions or discussion? Yeah, Frank.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm Frank O'Byrne. I've been here for 40 years, as most of you have. About a month ago, Judy Damone sent me a list of the ages of our congregation. And it's either 70% of us are over 80 or 80% of us are over 70. But we're getting old. Like, I know I'm getting old. The thing that we need in ministerial staff is someone to get a hug from, visit us in the hospital, visit us in a home when we're not well. And many of us are getting there. So that's called a pastoral minister. Now, we had one with Carolyn. That was basically one of her key jobs. So I see in the budget that with Carolyn gone, the ministerial salaries are somewhat reduced. If we're going with 4 churches and we're going with a massive bag of money but no building, unless we buy or build something somewhere or rent something somewhere, we should be going, I think, with a pastoral minister, someone who can go and give people a hug in a hospital or touch their hand or meet them. And as far as preaching ministries, every church has one. You can get one online, you can go out, but what we need is someone who can go out and visit and do pastoral care. So I would like the budget to be added to allow for such a person or find such a person to do it. So the salary I'm not concerned about, but the function, I really think we do need that type of function. So.
Other comments, questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Sorry? I guess she does. I guess Deborah has to come back for the vote. Yeah? Yeah. Does anyone know where Deborah went? Kent, go find Deborah. Thanks. I nominate Kent to find Deborah. Seconder? There we go. Some levity for the AGM there. Da-da-da. Who shouted? Down. Keep it down back there. The riffraff in the back. Deborah has returned. Okay, we have a minister present, so we can call for a vote. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion is carried. I believe that's it for me. Right? Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, the next order of business is financial statements and budget presentation. Judy Namone.
Hello, everyone. Oops. I have to try and do this so that I can see what I'm doing. The income and expense statement, the balance sheet and those have been on the website and on emails, and hopefully you've all had a chance to look at it if you are interested in what the numbers are. What I'm presenting here is just 2024 results. There's no vote on this. These are simply what has happened, 2024. So on the income side, our envelope offerings were slightly off what we had planned, as were power offerings. The bequest was from Shirley Brown's estate, and that was, when all was said and done, was more money than we had expected, and we are very grateful for that. Rental income was up slightly, thank you, Harold. The fundraising efforts, there are 4 items there. We had the holiday jingle, which did very well this year, the Just Us concert, which was tremendous, the variety show, and youth group fundraising, and all of those amounted to some 12,000, I think 600. The transfer from trustees, that is the money that, for those of you who are not aware, that every year when we were renting out the property, the trustees paid for all of the manse expenses, and whatever was left over, or what they could manage to spare, they would then give to the church funds. Now that we were not responsible for the manse, we weren't renting the manse anymore, so they had a larger sum of money that they were able to give us and transfer over. The remaining balance now will come next year, but 20,000 came there, and we did not have that planned. And the UCW as well ceased to be last year, which is very sad, but as they closed out their books, that money was transferred also to the general fund. And the outreach income was about 67, was about what was budgeted. And then other. So our total income, as you can see, was greater by 50,000 than what we had planned. So that's very helpful. Now we get on to the expense side of things. Again, salaries were slightly more than planned. That always happens every year because for funerals or any kind of events, the ministers are paid separately for those, and we never budget for a specific amount to be paid. So that salary field is always slightly off. Building operations, that's a very big one, as you can see, 52,000. That one a little hard to explain. But we had a write-off this year of some 50,000, and it was because when we were severing the manse, in the process of severing the manse, we used, that cost a lot of money, and we used the capital projects fund to pay for all of the expenses on that. The fact is that the capital project fund was fairly quickly depleted, and we ended up just creating a liability of some 50,000. And at this point, we had no way to get rid of that liability other than to write it off. And we chose to write it off as an expense in the building operations. The other piece, administration, again, pretty close to budget. Outreach, slightly more than budgeted, and other. So that gave us then the deficit is mainly due to that piece, is mainly because of the write-off. So just basically the summary of it all is that income was about 50,000 more than planned. Because of the 20,000 from the trustees, the fundraising was more than planned, the bequest was more than planned, UCW closing their accounts, and so on. People sometimes ask me, what is other? Other is functions, VBS, donation to envelope costs, a vision fund, and those items all added 20,000 to our unbudgeted income. However, they're also offset by some 10,000 plus in expenses. But that was why the income was greater, and expenses, I just explained that write-off as best I could. And apart from the write-off, we were pretty close to plan. So our deficit was greater than planned. But if not for the write-off, we would have had a deficit. We would not have had a deficit, but we would have had a surplus of 46,000. So that is the end of the income and expense side. Has anybody got any questions about any of that? Harold's trying to figure that one out in his head. You have to look at the income and expense statement and see it. We had projected quite a large deficit, which we don't. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah, well, just a minute here. The details. So if we look at the whole year, that our actual deficit was 160,000, 161,000. Our budget was to have a deficit of 151,000. Okay, and that the difference between those two numbers is the 10,000 something, and so that's all of that. Yeah. Any other questions on that? I think my next item is to make a motion. This is a motion regarding, where are we at? Yeah, this one. This motion is regarding the M&S, the Mission and Service Fund. And this is the motion that we continue, as we have always done, of contributing 10% of our envelope, par, and loose offerings, plus 100% of the Lenten offering to the Mission and Service Fund in 2025. So that is the motion. Is there a seconder? John? Any discussion on that? Yes? Function is a wedding, a funeral, or what have you. We always put something in the budget for that. In fact, quite a bit of it is offset by expenses, which we don't always match on that one. But that's what that is. Any other questions? This was a discussion about the M&S fund. So all in favor? Oh, sorry. Tom had a question, yes. Well, it's separate. It's a separate fund for the United Church. Yes. Whether they use any of the M&S money to put into that, we don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question. I can find out whether they use any of the M&S money, but they're two separate funds. Oh, for the budget? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so, no, is the motion carried then? We took Tom's question after that. Okay. All right, the last piece is the budget for 2025. Now, this budget was a challenge this year because when we did the budget, and we have to approve the budget at the end of the year, and the property had not yet closed, so we didn't know what was going on, and we were just sort of here and there trying to do the best we could. The straightforward things, the envelope, loose, and Sunday school, again, we're budgeting slightly less just because they continue to decline a little bit each year. Power is about the same. Rental is significantly less. We expect that, Harold was saying come September that rentals will go down significantly. Is that with the sale? Yes, we lose the, yeah. We lose yeah.
So on rentals, it tends to be a September to June time period. That's what they're looking for. Come February, we lose Saturdays. So the other congregation, the other church, has this whole facility on Saturdays, starting February 10th. So there's no renters on Saturdays. Some of these renters rent Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if they have to find someplace else, they may eliminate Friday and Sunday. And anybody that's just in here like little kickers, they're gone. So I'm projecting we're probably going to have a dramatically reduced rental income as a result. So. It's really irrelevant for this discussion, but the other church is the St. Paul, St. Peter Coptic Orthodox Church of Oakville.
He's on the agenda later with lots of stuff. Okay. We expect, say, the trustees will close out their account, and we will get, we budgeted for $10,000. We know now we're getting a little bit more. This other is the vendor take-back mortgage that is part of the sale of the property, and we did budget for that. That is about $180,000. And then the other again is 13 something. Expenses, salaries are less than 2024. I'm trying to look there. Building operations, they are much less than 2024. Again, we will not have that write-off again. Administration, up slightly. Mostly expenses go up on everything. So if you look at the administration and outreach, every single item has gone up quite a bit. So that is our budget for next year. Because of the vendor take-back mortgage, we will have a surplus, not a deficit, next year. And if you go on to the next slide, I just want to summarize that we do not expect a deficit in 2025. This budget does not include the income from the investment of the sale of the property. And that is, again, because the property had not sold. We didn't know what we were going exactly to do with the money. We didn't have enough information, so we decided not to put it in the budget at that point. But in fact, there will be money coming in. We think about $50,000 is what we thought we would get in 2025. So I could make a motion later on to add that to the budget. And the rental income, again, is going to decline significantly. Staff costs go down, a lot of it due to the resignation of Carolyn. We expect to pay more on property insurance, although I don't know that we really know what that's all about at this point. We did also, I wanted to mention, we are having an annual review done of our books of 2024, which we had hoped would have been finished by now. However, it has not been finished. Probably in the next month, we will get the results from that, and it will come back to the congregation for approval once we have received the final review results. Okay. Yes. So now, I make a motion to approve the budget for 2025. Is there a seconder? Harold? Discussion, questions? Frank?
Given that this budget is going to be carrying us through next year, and next year the changes are already underway, and we're going to be planning for years beyond that, I still feel that what we, really need is a pastoral care minister, and so we should be budgeting for that if we're going to get it. We have bags of money. And if we're going to go to 4 churches and say, look, let's somehow do a join up of somehow, I don't know how that's going to work, the thing that all of them are going to need is a pastoral care minister. So if we have the money, we should budget for it and plan for it. And it's not in this budget. So that's what I recommend we add to it. That's all.
Thank you. I don't know how exactly that works. There's a Carol Ann, you had a question as well? Yes, we have. Yeah. 180,000 was paid. Oh, Carol Ann's question was, have we repaid the loan to Horseshoe Falls, $180,000 that we had borrowed over the last while? And the answer is yes, we have. Yes, John. Oh, for the, no, it's for the online.
What we need to remember is that this budget is for St. Paul's. This isn't for any 4 churches. It's just for St. Paul's. If by some miracle, and it would be a miracle, whatever happens with the 4 churches happens before the end of 25, then a whole new budget would be formed for that new entity. So what we're looking at right now is strictly for St. Paul's. So forget the 4 churches right now.
Agreed, yes.
So staffing has changed a lot with Carolyn leaving, and it's kind of the absence of a pastoral care minister and somebody to work with our youth ministry. So the board has been having a lot of conversations while Carolyn was here and since Carolyn has left. The challenge is knowing what kind of staffing we should be hiring as we move forward with the other churches and what is needed. We are continuing to have these conversations. You'll hear later about an idea about youth ministry, but maybe if the board hears that there's a concern that something needs to happen with a pastoral care role, maybe the board needs to consider that and to think about maybe a contract position or something. We're just worried about hiring somebody permanent because of all the changes that are happening. I don't know if that helps, Frank.
Just to clarify, we're here and we're getting older. You can just look around, you can see it. And those that are not here can't get here, and they are older. We need pastoral care here, now, for us. Not for the four churches, but it would be nice for the four churches. I don't know about what this four church thing is all about anyway. But for St. Paul's congregation as it consists now, we need pastoral care.
Sounds as though this needs to be taken to the board for discussion at the board meeting. You have that already, yeah. Any further? Yes?
Just a clarification on the budget for the staff for 2025. I'm assuming that the number that's on the statement right now does not reflect the earlier motion that Jeff put forward to increase by the. It does reflect it? Okay, so. Okay.
Yeah, had not passed, but yes, it is reflected in there. Who?
I just want to take the opportunity to say that with Carolyn gone, that there isn't no pastoral care. There is pastoral care. We have a pastoral care committee. We have people who are actively working. I know Deborah works on it. I know that there is less with her gone, but I want to make sure that I do take the minute to recognize those who do offer pastoral care and do that work so that they don't feel like they're not being seen or heard right now, because I do know we do have some. I think additional pastoral care is always something vital, but it is something that needs to be discussed. It's hard to put a budget item in, but our church isn't afraid to necessarily come back and say, here's a proposal, let's have a meeting after church, and let's have that. I just think that I don't want to make it sound like there's no pastoral care happening right now, because I don't believe that's the case.
Thank you. Somebody else had a question? Yeah? No? Anyone else?
I would just like to say that I've been ill one way or another for the last about 6 months, I guess. But I've had several requests for help, not for help, but offering me help from, and I don't know where they came from or who it was, but we do have pastoral care. I just thought you should know that.
Thank you for that. We're glad. No, I know that the nurturing care works hard.
I would also just like to support what you say. Over the past year, we too have received a huge amount of pastoral care, for which Doug was very grateful, and I'm grateful. And I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you to all of you who do work so hard in that area. It's appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Are there any more hands behind me? Okay, yeah. So no further discussion, then there is a motion to approve the budget. Oh. Yes. The budget is as I have presented it. Yeah. You're looking at me? Yes, the board will look at it. We had made a note to add that. Yeah, she has it. So, take a vote. Oh, no, Tom? Yes, the question was, should we also have the board look at whether M&S includes the healing fund? No, it doesn't. No. We'll make a note for the board to look at that. No, we'll have the board discuss it, okay? Have a look at it. and get back to you. So, Ron has a question.
Tom, are you asking for an additional percentage to the church dedicated an additional 1 or 2% to the Healing Fund, or that 8% go to the mission service and 2% go to Healing Fund? I'm trying to understand what you're seeking. Oh, okay. I don't think it is. I think it's separate from the Healing Fund. I think the Mission and Service Fund probably does support Indigenous initiatives, but the Healing Fund is dedicated to Indigenous people and is dedicated to a group of Indigenous people who determine how those funds are used, if that helps.
Just confirm it, and we will let you know for sure. Do you have a question, Ron? Yes, there was. John was the second. Anyway, all in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Is that it?
Okay, the next item is the anniversary offering allocation for 2025, and Allison Mitchell-Newfield will fill us in on that.
Thank you, Candy. So, the Healing Fund supports healing initiatives for survivors of the residential school system and its ongoing intergenerational impacts. And if you haven't gone to the United Church of Canada's website to look it up, I suggest you do. Also, Frontline Outreach. Their mission is to serve and help others serve the disadvantaged with dignity, humility, and compassion. They value everyone and commit to serving them. I would like to make a motion that we split the anniversary offering for 2025 evenly between the United Church of Canada's Healing Fund and Frontline Outreach. Can I have a seconder? Carolyn McNaught? That's the hand I saw first. Is there any discussion? Frontline Outreach. Do you want to ask a question? It's a charitable organization that does a variety of different things, such as they have meals that they provide to the community, food distribution. They have Circle of Souls for mothers. They have a Father's House, which is basically the opportunity for people to give back and volunteer within the community. They also have toy stores for families that may not have as much as others, and so their children can come and select a toy from the toy store. Summer camps, yep. Carolyn, yep. Right. They do a lot of good work within the community. They also had a fundraiser, and they also opened their shelters up to the homeless on the coldest night in February, which I can't remember what day that was, but there have been a lot of them. So, yeah. Is there any other questions or discussions? No, we're all discussed out after the last one. Okay. All in favor? I think that's approved.
Okay, next item is new business. Harold is going to give us a property sale update. That's what it says.
So did everybody get one of these? If you don't, they're still outside. Now, I'm going to ask you to make sure you take one with you when you go. Because people keep asking the same questions over and over and over. They listen to someone who doesn't have the answer, give them what they think is right, and the next thing you know, everybody's thinking the wrong thing. So take one of these with you and put it somewhere where you can reread it, because there's a lot of stuff. I lived it, so I know it all. But more importantly, if someone asks you a question, before you answer them, pull it out and find the answer. And we've had a little bit of group gatherings as we talk with the Oakville churches, and I had a small group over. And I started with saying, are there any questions? And we spent the first half hour clarifying, getting rid of assumptions, correcting information about the sale before we did anything else. So consider this your sale Bible. And if I hear anybody giving someone else the wrong information, and I know you have this, you'll know what the kick came from in your backside and who gave it to you. Because there's nothing more distracting and discouraging than to have information floating around that is totally incorrect and doesn't need to be. So, for the sale, I get off my soapbox. You're all tenants now. That's what we are. We're tenants. And believe it or not, that takes a mind shift. If you see something wrong with this place and before you didn't worry about it, now you need to either write a note and leave it in the office or let me know, because we don't own the building anymore. If something goes wrong, I have to get a hold of a guy named Ehab Habib at the St. Paul and St. Peter Coptic Orthodox Church and say, oh, we have a problem. And they're hoping I can fix it. But if I can't, then they have to come and fix it. So we don't own the place anymore. So the things we used to accept, maybe we shouldn't. So you need to act like you're a tenant and not an owner any longer. We all do. So this, one of the things is, next Saturday, March 8th, stay away. You're going to see cars in the parking lot. That's going to be an open house for the new owners. They're coming in to find out what they spent $12 million on. And hopefully they're not too depressed, because the guys that did all this on the other side are going to get a lot of ugly comments probably. But it's all done. I don't care what they think about the place myself, but he would like them to be happy with it. So they'll be in for at least 2 hours, maybe 4, taking a look. So just to let you know, if you see a lot of cars and you think, what am I missing? Nothing. Keep driving. So this has everything you need written out. We have paid our $180,000 back. We have cleared up our M&S liability. I think we're pretty much up to scratch. As far as Judy and the budget, I mean, we're just flying by the seat of our pants on some of the information. I would call it a conservative budget. So I don't think there's too much downside to the numbers we've got in there. There may be some upside. We may do better than 50,000 in rentals. We're still sorting out how the investment income will come in for the $5 million that's being invested by TD Wealth Management. On the back, you will find all of the team members on all of the teams. I just did that because we don't usually have one place where everybody's listed. And all of those teams are still quite active. We had a meeting on Saturday with the 4, I'll say with the 4 churches, because Palermo, that's where we had it, and a couple of people were there. So we're slowly, I am anyways, I'm going to slowly try and get them to make it 5 and not 4. But it does add a complexity. But you know what? I think we saw forward movement on Saturday, which is really good. I think 4 churches are thinking more along the lines of how do we become one. So stay with us. If you got any questions about this, let me know. If you can't find a copy and you lose it, let me know, because you have an email address. I'll send it to you one more time. So, any questions about the sale? Okay, we'll put it on the website. Yes, Grace. Oh, the date is next Saturday. next Saturday. 12 till, they wanted to be here till 12 till 4, and I said, you can, but you can't use the gym because there's a renter in there at 2:30. And they went, oh, well, we'll find a way to work around that. Yep, you will. So, yes, Frank?
Harold is amazing. The amount of work that went into pulling this together is hours and days and weekends and nights and on and on and on. And all these little memos, they didn't happen just because someone snapped their finger. You had to type them up and think them up. And so the job was a big job. And I don't think I could have done it. And I don't know who else could have done it besides Harold. So thank you, Harold, for such a great work.
As Jeff would say, that only cost me $20.
Okay, we have one more item for new business, possible partnership with the Hub, and it's
Do you have that handout that I gave you earlier? I had a blurb on there. Thanks. All right. So one of the things in some of the outgoing or exit kind of conversations that we had with Carolyn was around a gap in youth ministry that was going to be created. She spent, unbeknownst to many of us, she spent a decent chunk of her time working with the youth, not only here at St. Paul's, but within the broader community. And along with that, developing partnerships with an organization called The Hub, who you've heard mentioned in various capacities. When we started to look at the budget for this year, one of the things that we considered was allocating, a certain chunk of funding towards continuing the momentum around that youth ministry. That was something that Carolyn herself felt was really important for us to consider, was how do we keep the momentum around the youth ministry that happens here at St. Paul's. And when I say here at St. Paul's, I mean with St. Paul's youth, but out in the broader community. That then led us to some discussions with some folks at the Hub. We had initially talked about potentially, for lack of a better phrase, poaching someone from the Hub, not poaching, but asking them to come and be a more formal part of us here so that we could bring some of her expertise in-house. And those discussions then kind of continued, and we thought, well, in the spirit of what we're trying to do in terms of establishing partnerships and broadening our reach within the community, as is our vision to connect, to engage those around us and kind of transform the way we do things, we started to explore the possibility of a more formalized partnership with the Hub, who currently operate as a kind of an entity under the umbrella of a congregation in Kitchener-Waterloo. But that arrangement will end come the end of this calendar year. And so we are just now beginning potential discussions with the Hub around what a potential more formalized partnership might look like with St. Paul's. They are the experts in youth ministry in this region. Lots of youth from a variety of different churches in the region know them and participate in their events. And so rather than us feeling like we can invent something ourselves here, one of the things that we're constantly trying to challenge ourselves to do is how do we uplift the really great work and expertise of organizations that are already out there in the community, and they certainly are one in the area of youth ministry. So just wanted to provide an update to say that we're currently exploring a more formalized partnership with them. Specifics are yet to be kind of ironed out. But the benefit for us is that our youth would have access to continuing youth programming that they're already engaged in. Even just last weekend, we had some of our youth go and attend an event that was put on by the Hub. The Hub would, of course, benefit from our support as a not-for-profit organization, an umbrella under which they need to operate because they don't have not-for-profit status themselves. And we will bring back any specifics once we've had a chance to further those conversations. Myself, Deborah, Allison have been talking or have just started discussions with Adam Cresswell, who is the lead of the Hub, The next step would be to bring any kind of formalized proposal to the board for discussion. And if and when there is a formal proposal to present to the congregation, we would bring that here for you. But simply wanted to kind of keep you updated on another potential partnership that we're exploring to help try and fill a bit of a gap that Carolyn felt really strongly about us actively trying to fill. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. There's no motions to be made at this point. It's simply wanted to keep you updated.
Okay, I guess we're at the end of the agenda. So we are going to call, do we motion a time? A motion adjourn, Miss? Pardon? Just, okay, I'm adjourning the meeting. And the time is 5 after 1, and we have 25 minutes.
All right, I know we've been here a long time. Let's ground ourselves. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to walk you through those breaths. So first, let's breathe in our call to lead and support this community of faith in its work, and breathe out our thanksgiving for the time and dedication of so many here at St. Paul's. As we breathe in, let's consider our fears, our anxieties, our grief, our judgments, as this church and others face challenges and change. And breathe out the knowledge and the wisdom that we are not alone, and that if we are open to it, the Spirit will guide us and take us where we need to go. And one more breath. Breathe in our gratitude for the ending of this meeting, and breathe out as we go out in love and peace. Our service has ended. Now it is time to go out and serve others, sharing God's love with the world. May it be so. Amen.